I'm Nate, CEO and co-founder of Crafty. There have been some really interesting trends since the pandemic. First, it was a lot of push towards flexibility. You heard really prominent CEOs and executives say, we're going fully remote. Like, the world has totally changed and we believe that remote is the future. And many of those same leaders have now walked back that statement and said, actually, we'd really love for our employees to come in office and work together in person, and we see the value in proximity. And so there has been this sort of pendulum swing. I do think we're coming back now to a place where we have a little more balance in terms of what we expect from the ways that we work. And that's why we believe in structured hybrid. There's certain days that we come into the office where we know that you're not gonna make the commute and show up and nobody else is in office, but you are going to be intentional about the time that you spend in office so that we can make the most of being together in person. We think so much more holistically today about the employee experience than we used to before. And even if you look at the arc of pantry programs over many decades, you saw it start with just coffee as a free amenity you provided to do a little something for employees. And now that's expanded into much more comprehensive programming. All of it comes back to ensuring that employees feel appreciated and valued by their employer. Feeling appreciated and valued leads to better work, better camaraderie, better output, better business outcomes. And it's a small way to make a big difference. One of the benefits of having a pantry program is that it's much more flexible than a fresh food program where you've got a cafeteria that's staffed, where you've got a salad bar, food that can perish. With pantry programs, we have best of both worlds in that we can have the more shelf-stable products and we can have the fresh products. And with the best data, you can accommodate the days in which you think there will be more people in office with more fresh items, and then have the more shelf-stable items supporting the regular course of events throughout the week. Pantry helps employees feel appreciated and valued. It drives productivity as well. It saves somebody from needing to go out of office to get a bite. It also ensures that employees don't get hangry in the middle of the day, which is, sounds funny, but actually makes a big difference. It's how you show up in a meeting to work with your colleagues. If you've got that grumbling tummy, you're more likely to be short and snappy and maybe not be able to focus as closely on the work at hand. And so these small investments in a food and beverage program and in a pantry program actually help the bottom line because you'll see better output from your team. First and foremost, employee sentiment. So we look at consumption trends and behaviors to understand, are we putting products in front of employees that they use, that they enjoy? The second part is goal alignment around your program. What are you solving for? Are you solving for the lowest cost program or the highest experience program? Do you have sustainability goals? Do you want to represent diversely owned or minority owned businesses? Understanding those goals better positions vendors like Crafty to be able to achieve those goals or report on our progress against those goals. And then I think the third thing would be just operational expectations around the programs. Part of the pantry program is balancing things that are recurring and then things that should be evolving and changing over time. Within the operation, you have set delivery days. You've got inventory levels we're managing to. We've got expectations that we build in so that the program runs really smoothly. And then on the other hand, the program needs to actually evolve over time. And so understanding what are the pieces that we might edit. We can change a delivery day. We can change a piece of equipment. We can rotate the product selection. Those are the levers that keep the program fresh over time. I think the reality is that they both have to meet somewhere in the middle, because the common misconception is that you can't create a great employee experience without a massive budget, which is just untrue. The employee experience is so much more than big parties and big events. It's the little things. Food and beverage is just a pillar of the employee experience. It's about the mission of the company. It's about the way leaders communicate with their teams. It's about the values that the company upholds. And it is about the way that we work together. And so bringing it back to food and beverage is about using food and beverage as a tool to help people work together and feel appreciated by the employer, which leads to those positive outcomes. The Perk Paradox is the tension that exists between wanting to deliver a great employee experience and investing in perks like food and beverage and the financial realities of doing so. The reason we call it a paradox is that it is a misconception that you have to have an extravagant food and beverage budget in order to offer these perks, when in reality, the return on investment of a pantry program, which is a rather modest investment compared to what we invest in our employees writ large, makes a huge difference for the employee experience. I would recommend that executives start the budgeting bottoms up instead of tops down. Think about what you want an individual employee to consume within the pantry program on a daily basis. If you want them to have a kind bar and a piece of fruit and a cup of coffee and maybe another beverage throughout the day, you can work at an item cost basis to get to that total per person per day budget, to build up your budget to a monthly figure and understand based on the number of people you're going to have in the office, how much you should be budgeting for. Now, we have a lot of budget benchmarking data that we use in conversations with prospective clients about how to shape their program. And I think what folks generally find is that the program that they're envisioning is closer within reach than they probably thought it was. And so the advice I would give for folks who are thinking about tackling this problem is to reach out to a vendor and discuss what is possible and learn what other companies are doing as well. So the way that our budgeting works is we work with our client to establish what is the per person per day budget. Then we look at the number of people in their office, and that gives us a total budget. When we look at an individual month, we already know what are the predetermined delivery days. So we can divide that monthly budget by the number of delivery days to have a per delivery budget. That tells our team on the ground, you cannot order more than this dollar figure. Tells our clients when they're placing orders, you cannot order more than this dollar figure. If you do, we'll be over budget. When you get to 60% of your spend in a month, you're gonna get a notification that says you're at 60% of your spend. If you're a week and a half or 2 weeks into the month and you're at 60% of your spend, we're in trouble. But we can get ahead of that by looking at that per order budget and making sure we're sticking to it throughout the month. Companies should avoid solving for too many things simultaneously within their pantry program. Goal alignment is this really important step in our process to understand if you're gonna stack rank all the things that you want to achieve in your program, what's at the top? We might say to a client, what is your number one priority? And they might say, well, I want the best possible experience for my employees no matter what. And then we'll talk about budget, and we'll understand that we've been given very strict guidance around managing to a specific budget. So we'll actually recommend that the budget becomes the priority first and foremost, and within that, we're going to deliver the highest possible client experience. When you don't have a good foundation of data and reporting throughout your program, you're more likely to just have a suboptimal experience. If you think about the Perk Paradox as financials on one side and then experience on the other, on the cost or financial side, it's giving us the data to understand how much are we spending, where are we seeing the highest return, what's popular, what's not, what are other companies doing, really informing how we set the right budget. And then on the experience side, it's understanding what's popular, what's not, what's actually improving the experience, what are things that employees don't really care about that we are spending money on. When you've got clear reporting, you can make sure you're measuring spend and evolving the program over time to get biggest bang for your buck. You can also ensure that employees are happy with the program as it is, and you're using employee input to drive the changes in the program. Talk to your accountant. I'm not an accountant, but there's this thing called fringe benefits, and fringe benefits can be taxed differently or tax deducted differently at the end of the year. Reporting is the basis of all of this, because one of the things that we see is if you buy a lot of different products from a single vendor, you might not be able to prove how much did we spend on catered food versus snacks and other CPG items. And those categorizations are what you can use to file your taxes appropriately and maximize your tax advantage at the end of the year. Within the Crafty platform, we have the ability to provide all of that reporting at a category, subcategory, brand, and even product level. We have a technology team that we've built our own proprietary tech. It's fantastic. I'm not aware of another vendor who has the level of reporting capabilities that we have. We also have a proprietary tagging library that we leverage to give really clear reporting to our clients. So reporting is the basis of maximizing your potential tax benefit. For me, it comes back to building a high-performing team. And in order for folks to feel motivated, inspired, it starts with feeling appreciated. And it also starts with building relationships. And food is one of those things that can do both. It shows an individual that they themselves are appreciated by offering them another benefit or perk. And then it also is this strategic tool that can bring people together. I mean, food is that one thing that brings us all together as humans. The shared experience of food is kind of like talking about the weather, something everybody gets and appreciates, and it can lead to stronger relationships with colleagues, which can lead to better work. And that's why we make that investment as an employer.